Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's Eve. I did. We watched Jurassic Park. It was okay. It was pretty okay. I thought the kids would like it more. Oh, well. You still get a miss. Wreck-It Ralph 2 was the other one, and Wreck-It Ralph 1 was better. Fair enough. We did a movie marathon for New Year's Eve last night, and yeah, it was a good time. So I hope other people were able to enjoy their New Year's. Trump had a big party, and we're gonna look at that in a minute because he's signaling with Melania. He says, "No, I want you to wear this dress. I want you to wear the silver dress, Melania." And yes, that happens. And it's very interesting what's going on. The whole silver run is top of the news, and we're going to start there. Chinese aggression using fishing boats. We're going to talk about that. Harvard stopped teaching about Western civilization, and the invasion ongoing. New Year's, how New Year's looks. It looks a lot more authoritarian than it looked 10 years ago. That's for sure. So lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, Silver Trade says perhaps we've been watching the silver market a little too much in the closeout of 2025, but Melania walked out with President Trump tonight in a stunning silver dress to the Lone Rangers theme song. Hi-Ho Silver. Away, right? Happy 2026. So here's Trump and Melania is wearing a silver dress. Can't miss the communication here. Can you hear the Lone Ranger in the background? A reporter, it's kind of hard to hear. A reporter asks him, "We've heard there's going to be troops on the ground in Ukraine. Is that true, sir?" He invites all the media in. He says, "You guys can come in if you want." And then somebody asks him, is it true you're going to put troops on the ground in Ukraine? And he smiles and walks away, and that's it. And so he just says, I'm not going to, that's not a question for right now. So, but I think the big story, understated, is Melania's silver dress and the Hi-Ho Silver away background music, right? Interesting indeed. Bar chart says breaking U.S. banks. Yes, they are. Federal Reserve just pumped in a staggering $31 billion into the U.S. banking system through overnight repos. This is the largest liquidity injection since COVID and surpasses even the peak of the dot-com bubble. Happy New Year. So, interesting, right? Things seem to be happening and people seem to be noticing this. The silver thing is getting to be a bigger story, not a smaller story, and it may be a contagious one. This may... I don't know about do damage. I'm not a money guy, right? But I was around for 2008. I was around for, what was the dot-com bubble burst? Enron, right? I was around for that. I wasn't paying too much attention to the stock market when I was 20, stupidly, but I was around for it. And I watched all of those things happen. And these 2008 was more contagious than anything else with the Lehman Brothers collapse and then everybody being taken off guard by that and so on and so forth. I think that these people who were manipulating the price of silver and stealing the gap, so the gap between the real price of silver and the artificially low price was taken in fiat by the people who were manipulating the currency. And I think they were buying buildings in Nairobi. Weird, but I'll show you in a minute. So now this has taken them off guard, and it seems like it's contagious in the same way that 2008 could have taken everything down, right? So Echo says, shocking year-end warning, the Fed just blinked, and it's all about to unravel. Ooh, happy 2026, December 31st, 2025. While the world is celebrating the new year, the Federal Reserve quietly injected $74.6 billion in overnight repo liquidity, one of the largest single-day repo operations of the entire year. This is not routine. This is not normal. This is a stress signal. In simple terms, a repo is an emergency overnight loan. Banks are saying we need cash right now, and the Fed is stepping in with tens of billions just to keep the system functioning. When this happens at year end and at this size, it tells you one thing: liquidity is breaking. Here's why this matters. Over $74 billion was borrowed overnight, backed mainly by treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, settled the same day with full allotment, meaning the Fed took everything offered. That only happens when banks are under pressure and desperate for immediate cash. Borrowing at this price doesn't signal strength. It signals cracks forming beneath the surface. Now, connect the dots to silver. This is happening at the exact same time the COMEX is raising margin requirements. Volatility is exploding, and physical silver overseas is trading higher than COMEX paper prices. That's a spread we're going to talk about in a minute. Oh, I forgot to. There was a specific part of the video I'm going to show you where he talks about the impact of all of this, but I don't have it queued up properly, so apology. And I'm live streaming, so I can't pause to fix it. But the spread between the paper price of silver, which is $72, and the actual spot price for the metal, if you want to walk out with the metal, $84 in Shanghai, that difference is only getting worse, not better. That was the last time I checked, and that was the video that I'm going to show you. And that indicates that COMEX is being made irrelevant, not that COMEX is correct and the Shanghai market is wrong. COMEX is paper, and paper, well, those guys are going to get a payment price. Those guys are going to get a cash settlement. They're not going to get anything else. And that's, they don't want the $72. They want the metal that's worth 84 in Shanghai and going up to 150 and maybe more. Promise. And like, I don't have enough silver for this, man. Where can you get silver at this hour? Actually, the Canada Poly chat has been great. They've been talking about where you can get silver. Basically, people were saying, if you want to buy silver tomorrow, I know a guy. So there's lots. It's in Vancouver, but there's lots. Anyway, here's why this matters. Over $74 billion was borrowed overnight, backed mainly by treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, settled the same day with full allotment, meaning the Fed took everything offered. That only happens, now connecting that to silver. COMEX paper prices. When liquidity dries up, paper markets break first, and silver is one of the most paper-leveraged markets on the planet, with hundreds of paper claims for every real ounce. So you have people, it's like what they were doing with the GameStop stocks. They were saying that you owned this stock, but really they were selling it to multiple people saying you own this stock. Same with silver. Multiple people think they own the same bar. Also, there's not enough silver to cover all the paper out there, right? It's the same thing said two ways. Hundreds of paper claims for every single real ounce. Wild. They can raise margins. They can inject liquidity, cash. They can suppress volatility, but they cannot do this forever. You can't borrow more money every night, pretend paper equals physical, and expect confidence to hold. Historically, when the system cracks, silver is the metal that exposes it. This repo spike isn't random. It isn't coincidence. It's a year-end liquidity warning, and it lines up perfectly with what's unfolding in the silver market. The math is breaking, the pressure is building, and the system is borrowing time. Watch the repos, watch the margins, watch silver, because once confidence is gone, there's no overnight loan big enough to save it. Know what you hold. 2026 is about to be amazing. And I think that they're using the silver market. And is this coincidence that Melania is wearing a silver dress, right? Or is this a signal? Is this Trump knows what's going on, and they're using the silver to put pressure on the globalists who are using fiat currency to suppress these real prices of things. It was not a fair market. It was not a true market. These people were stealing the money off the top and overselling the silver on paper and essentially stealing that money because they knew they couldn't mine it. And you and me and taxpayers, everybody else were left holding the bag. And now this is putting pressure on those people, and those people, that system is going to crack, and it's going to be a bit bumpy, but is it going to be better on the other side, right? Like a year after this happens, people go, oh, this is what a free market looks like, right? Maybe. I'm speculating, but is it, I'm saying maybe it's worth it to go through the bump in order to get to the other side, right? It's very, very interesting if you ask me. I genuinely don't know. If I could read the future, I would have more silver. I promise. Anne says, repo markets injecting serious cash. New York, London still printing ETFs at suppressed prices while raising margins over and over. Price divergence between the central bank nations printing artificially suppressed lowball paper prices to bring the market price down of silver, and Asia, where physical silver is trading over $20 higher an ounce than paper ETFs. Silver squeeze is happening. Watch TMTG stock just announced that they're issuing 1 token for every real share to the holder of TMTG stock. You won't be able to sell without the token. This exposes and shuts out all the naked short sellers. Now apply that concept to naked silver shorts. Those paper holders will never be able to redeem their paper ETF they bought at an artificially suppressed price for the actual physical metal. In other words, they're screwed, just like the short sellers of the TMTG stock. This is the great financial reset. Maybe. We'll see, right? This guy, he's AI. People have been emailing me saying he's AI. I think his information is legit. Like people, this is called a faceless YouTube channel, and people like human faces. So if you can put up a person's face and make it seem like they're talking to you, that's better than just having like no person. I think it probably helps with watchability and things like that. I guess he's AI. People say he's AI, and I believe them. It looks like his mouth doesn't work sometimes. Anyway, what he's saying is very, very interesting. I think valid. I can't remember exactly where I was looking for the time index. I watched this yesterday. It's 30 minutes, and every minute of it is very, very interesting. He goes through it in meticulous order, and I'll just play the first minute here, but very interesting, very worthwhile. Here we go. This is about silver.
We are now entering the final countdown. I want you to look at the date on your screen. It is Wednesday, December 31st, 2025.
January 1st, 2026.
We are exactly 36 hours away from the moment the world changes. In 36 hours, the sun will rise on January 2nd. The holidays will be over, and the China export ban will become active law. But we do not have to wait for Thursday to see the damage. The damage is already here. For the last 48 hours, we have been warning you about a bifurcation, a splitting of the market. Well, today, that split became a fracture, and that fracture just became a chasm. Ladies and gentlemen, Asian guy here, known as John A.G. from Currency Archive. As I speak to you right now, there is no longer a single price of silver. The global market has shattered into three distinct realities. And if you're looking at the price on your banking app or your standard news terminal, you're looking at the wrong reality. You're looking at a ghost. Let's look at the three-tier market that has emerged this afternoon. Tier 1 is the panic price. This is the price in Shanghai. The Shanghai Futures Exchange closed its final session of the year at an equivalent of $84.55. This is the price being paid by the manufacturing capital of the world. This is the price being paid by the entities that actually consume the metal. They are desperate. They are front-running the ban. And they are paying whatever it takes to secure inventory before the doors lock in 36 hours. Tier 2 is the physical price. This is the price in the Middle East, specifically in the UAE and Dubai physical souks. We have confirmed live transaction prices averaging $79.61. This is the honest physical market. It is not in a total panic like China, but it is tight. It is demanding a premium. It is telling us that even outside of the export ban zone, physical silver is trading nearly $8 higher than the paper spot price. And then we have Tier 3. Tier 3 is the zombie price. This is the COMEX spot price in New York. It is currently trading at $72.15. Do the math with me. $84.55.
So he goes through the spread, the difference between the spot price in New York on paper silver and the actual physical trading price on the floor in the different markets that he cited, and he says this is not good for silver, and it's getting worse, not better. The COMEX price is not bringing the market price down, which is what they were hoping it was going to do. Arthur says here's the S&P 500 in ounces of silver now takes 85 ounces of silver to buy SPY down from 225 ounces. So it's getting cheaper. The number of ounces of silver is much fewer to buy SPY at its low relative weighing over the last 5 years. This is the sort of pin action you would expect if Western nations were implementing fiscal or monetary policies to inflate debt away. So at one point, $1 billion debt sounded like a lot of money, right? But then the money got less valuable, and so it's not so much money. Now $1 trillion sounds like a lot of money, but right, we're inflating the debt away, and I think that's fiscal policy. I think that's basically fiscal policy, and this is part and parcel of the system the financial system that's being reset. And to back up what I'm saying, that I think it's part of fiscal policy, the policy of the Bank of Canada is to inflate everything by 2% every year. And they say, well, inflation's running at 3.5%, so that's not target. We should get it down to 2%, but it should really be zero, right? They say that inflation's good for the economy, et cetera, but it devalues, it's a silent tax. It reduces the buying power of your dollar. And so if you've done 2% inflation for 60 years, which I think for a long time, I think we've been doing it since at least the 80s, but I think it's been monetary policy in Canada for a lot longer than that. Then what's the compound of that, right? Like, even if you've done it for 40 years, since the 80s, 1981, right? Like, that's a lot of inflation. That's a lot of inflation. And so we are losing buying power at that rate, and everybody's calm about it because, as the Joker said, if there's a plan, everybody's cool with it, right? Doesn't matter if the plan's horrific, so long as there's a plan. Right? Silver Trade says BRICS group launches gold-backed unit payment systems. Russia and China are attempting to issue a terminal blow to the U.S. dollar as global reserve currency using gold. The BRICS nations have launched a pilot program for a new settlement instrument called the unit, which is backed by a blend of 40% physical gold and 60% BRICS nation currencies. Pegged to gold, each unit is currently pegged to a value equivalent to 1 gram of gold. However, its daily value fluctuates based on the exchange rate of its constituent currencies against gold. Structure: the unit is a mixed back exchange unit administered by the International Reserve and Investment Asset System. Digital reserve currency: the system is designed as a digital platform utilizing transparent blockchain technology. The unit was just launched as only a pilot program initially with only 100 units issued. While the full global rollout is yet to be announced, the U.S. dollar has officially been put on notice. Russia and China are officially coming after the U.S. dollar's role as the global reserve currency, and their weapon of choice to slaughter the globalists is none other than gold. Translation: the U.S. dollar is cooked. Maybe that would be not so good for Canada. Things would be terribly difficult in Canada if that were true. And so, again, is it going to be worth the bump on the other side? We're going to get to this story in a minute, but I think what they're doing is they're washing the money into other tax bases as fast as possible and building physical assets out of the money that they're extracting. And this guy goes through a city in Kenya or a city in Africa, Nairobi, and he shows all of this money just splashing around. So it's pretty wild stuff. Here is a little bit more New Year's stuff. Ari says, Israel's Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu is at Mar-a-Lago as a guest of President Donald Trump. Of course he is, for New Year's Eve. Of course he is, right? So, womp. Here's some stories are good about Trump. Some stories are bad about Trump. What do you think about Netanyahu partying with Trump at Mar-a-Lago on New Year's Eve? I mean, there was a lot of other people there. It wasn't just Trump and Melania and Bibi. So, but guest of honor, I guess. Chloe says, I didn't realize when I went to Primrose Hill last year that it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So this is the fireworks in London from Primrose Hill. And this year, they've blocked it off, fenced it off, and they've put security. You're not allowed to go here to watch the London fireworks. This is last year's fireworks for New Year's in London. Katy Perry. Ugh, it just made me think of Justin Trudeau. So this is the view, right? So that's it. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an amazing, great view or anything like that. You get some fireworks here and there. Oh, there you go. That's an all right view. Why do they have to be so authoritarian? Why they got to be like that? Seems pretty petty. Seems petty. Tommy Robinson says, England's second largest city, Birmingham, on New Year's Eve, a lone Englishman. Yeah. So there's one Englishman walking around and taking video of, a formerly British town. Last night as well, yesterday, Guelph announced a snow event and said no street parking today. And they didn't, so it's New Year's Eve. And that seems like on a regular day, that might be an inconvenience. But what if you've got like people coming over for a New Year's party? What if you had 10 people coming over for a New Year's party? How are they supposed to get to your house? You got to go pick them all up? Are you kidding me? Right? Like, and so by 2 or 3 hours later, Guelph changed their tune and rolled it back. A whole bunch of fireworks were canceled in Guelph, and Barrie canceled them, and a bunch of other ones. Now, there was a snowstorm, kind of, but like, kind of? I don't know. I don't know if I guess they were saying that you couldn't do the setup day because the setup day was bad weather, and then the actual, for the performance of the fireworks, it was too windy, I guess, so they had to cancel it. And so it just kind of terrible, right? Like, it seems like these formerly important traditions are being set off to the side, and that's not great. Armed police were deployed in London to keep people safe for New Year's Eve. What's happened to our capital? Well, we're going to talk about the invasion of the West ongoing, of course. I got to say goodbye to the stream soon, but that's okay. The White House posts, there's all of these posts coming from the White House, and these, it seems like communications, right? So the gladiator clip I showed you yesterday, that seems very purposeful. The silver dress, very purposeful. Do you think it's a coincidence? And then here's a list of memes that were posted by the White House. It says, words to carry you into the new year. America is back, right? I was the hunted. Now I'm the hunter. Where have you heard that one before? That's a Q drop. The White House says peace through strength. That's a Trump branded phrase, or was that Reagan that Trump's co-opted? White House again says me and bro fixing America. So this is Trump and Vance. We have the hottest country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And another day, another win, and remigration. And I tagged the Dominion Society in this one because I thought, man, like that's a meteoric climb for that word. Where did that word come from? Who started remigration as a phrase? I remember reporting on it, but I can't remember who started it. Britain is, if there was a single person who started it, or did everybody just start saying remigration at the same time? Weird, right? Britain is broken. It says breaking 41,472 illegal immigrants crossed the English Channel in 2025. That's a 13% increase on 2024. This madness must stop immediately. Yeah, things are pretty wild. Brussels, tent cities line the streets in EU's home. 73% of newborns from foreign families witnessing the collapse of Western civilization in real time. Do you support Trump banning all Muslims from entering the West and rejecting all Islamic refugees? So if somebody doesn't do something, this is what Canada's future is going to look like. Carney wants to make us part of Europe, and he sees no problem with this. This is progress. And indeed, in my town, we had there are still parks that are places where designated tent cities are quote unquote allowed. And that's not okay. Absolutely not. Like, no, that's a park. That's not somewhere for anyone any migrant from anywhere who wants to set up a tent to live. Nope. No, thank you. And so the whole thing is crazy, but Guelph and Canada have gone through our tent city phase. And I mean, I think we're still in the throes of it. I think they've just, put it under the rug, hidden it under the rug just a little bit. In policies like, you can't put a tent city here because people will notice that, but you can put a tent city in the park because people won't notice that. Only the people who live in the neighborhood there will notice that, and they have to get used to you because you live there now in the tent. And no, like that's irresponsible. That's treason. Can you imagine? It's treason. It's treason. And these people are getting away with it. Amuse says Harvard has erased Western civilization from its history department. The West is out. Ideology is in. America's oldest elite university no longer teaches its own civilization. Harvard's history department no longer employs any tenured faculty focused on Western civilization. The shift follows years of hiring freezes in the field and the exit of 8 senior scholars, including James Hankins. Administrators have prioritized global narratives meant to marginalize Western history while facing allegations of discrimination in graduate admissions. The result is a department ideologically uniform and disconnected from the foundations of American society. Yep, and ideologically in lockstep with the globalists, who are absolutely bonkers. Okay, with that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream.